So, welcome to Books, Tea, and Drama, and we are here with Pittsburgh's finest poet, Ron. And you know what? I don't want to mutilate your last name, so you got to teach me how to say your last name. Well, or you want me to guess?
You guess.
Gallic?
Nope.
Nope. Gallic. Okay, no, I'm done.
Not saying the V. You gotta say the V.
Gavalik?
Gav.
Gav. Oh, Gav.
Gav.
Gava.
Lick.
Gavalik.
Not gave. Not gave.
Gavalik. Gavalik. Okay.
That's how the kids made fun of me. Gave a lick.
Oh no. Oh, you think about that. Kids and names. They're horrible. Wow. So I wanted to talk about your poetry, what possessed you to do poetry, and how has it been going for you?
It's going well. My most recent collection came out a couple months ago. It's titled Rusted Roads and Day Old Roses.
Mm-hmm.
As most poets, I would assume, we write about, and other fiction and nonfiction writers, we write what we know. And in this particular collection, I was tackling a lot of what happened during the pandemic. During the height of the pandemic. And what I did was in my professional life, I'm a writer as well. Okay. I'm not just a poet. I'm also a professional writer consultant who does technical writing and marketing communications for companies in and around the Pittsburgh region. That's how I make a living. Right. But, that all fell apart. That consultancy of mine collapsed with the pandemic. Most of my clients started working from home. A couple of them went out of business, and I was left without an income aside from the published works. And I decided to try my hand at rideshare taxi driving.
Oh, I've done that.
Yeah, so I made a real method out of it. I went full professional with it. I got all the right kinds of insurance. I signed up for all the apps. I bought a proper vehicle. I did all these things that you have to do it well. And then I committed myself during COVID-19 to working 6 to 7 days a week, carting people from place to place and meeting some of the most interesting people of the world that have passed through my city. And from those experiences, I formed a poetry collection, which is titled Rusted Roads. And
I like that. I did Uber too. I did Uber for a while, or rideshare. I only did Uber. I tried to do Lyft, but I was a more Uber person. So.
Yeah, so Uber fired me. Yeah, they fired me. I had, because about a little over a year ago, I had 2 different riders in my car in the same evening who tried to bring liquor in the vehicle. Now in Pennsylvania, this is where I live, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It is completely illegal for someone to bring an open container of alcohol into a vehicle, right? And limousines, it's okay, right? But in a passenger vehicle, it's a UI for the driver, no matter if he's drinking it or not. It doesn't matter.
Wow.
So the first person was this younger guy I picked up in a poor neighborhood, and he tried to pull a fast one and bring a solo cup full of bourbon with him. And I told him off. I said, you have to get strong with people sometimes, doing work. You have to be ready to throw down and stuff. So I told him, I'm like, it's not going to happen. Get rid of it or get the hell out of my car, So he felt bad. He felt bad because I did explain the laws, and he felt bad. He felt bad for putting me at risk. So he drank the liquor and then jumped in the car.
Okay.
Meanwhile, it was meant for his girlfriend, but he was a really nice boy.
Yeah.
I took him from his I picked him up in the projects type area. I took him to his girlfriend's house. Really nice boy. We ended up having a nice chat the whole way with girlfriends. Because he was young. Young people are very idealistic usually. And later that evening, I got this 30-something woman in a more bourgeois richer part of the area. He
Mm-hmm.
was waiting for me on the corner while holding an open bottle of wine and drinking from it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and she was like business casual and like clearly like educated, knew better, a little bit older. So she tried to get in the car, and I really let her have it. And I said, "Listen, get the fuck out of here with that stuff."
Mm-hmm.
So she dumped the bottle. She dumped the bottle, but she got mad at me because
Mm.
I yelled at her,
Mm-hmm.
and and then the next day she told Uber that I had committed sexual harassment.
No.
She cancel cultured me.
Wow. That's evil.
Pretty
Wow.
bad. I shouldn't have yelled at her, but what she did was really she got me fired.
Yeah.
She took away my income.
Wow.
So
Well.
now I still work for Lyft here and there, but I'm back actually now that the pandemic has kind of come down on the decline.
Mm,
The companies are hiring again, and my consultancy is back, and I'm currently doing
okay, good.
a project for a company. And the
That's
new
good.
book came out, so I got that going on. So I don't have to do
Yeah.
volunteer work as much as I was.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good because I did it for a couple years. I did it. It got all weird in the end. I just ended up dumping it, and then I moved to another state. But yeah, it was good for a little bit. It helped me get through a rough patch. I will say that. I
Yeah.
did that, and then I also worked for another company where I transported packages, um, like from one, like for like small airports to another airport, things like that. So that was a good one too.
Transporting the packages would be a lot better than the people.
It is. It is. And the company that I worked for allowed me to take my daughter with me. So that's what made it even.
Mm.
So I worked more with them than I did Uber. And I loved it. It was, yeah, you didn't have to deal with people. I didn't have to deal with drunk people. The only drunk people I had to deal with was in Miami when I worked in Miami. But
Mm.
uh, yeah, I had a kid throw up in my car before. That was
Ooh.
lovely.
Knock on
Yeah.
wood, that never
Well, he didn't
happened.
like the
Knock on
charge.
wood. Got close a couple of times.
Yeah.
I'm really good at pulling over,
Yeah.
saying, "There's the
It
door."
happened to me. It happened to me twice. One, he put his head out the door and threw up on the side of the outside of my car, and some got on the inside. Another one, yeah, I could just tell you a bunch of horror stories. I've been sexually harassed
Is this a
as an
rideshare
Uber
podcast?
driver.
Is that what we're doing? We're doing a video.
I guess we're doing a rideshare horrors. Yeah, yeah. I have my share of horror stories, but yeah, it
What are you
helps
writing
because
right
people
now?
know.
Tell me what you're writing right now?
What I'm writing right now is a book called Forbidden,
What's it about?
and so it's about this. I actually started writing this years ago, and I started and stopped. But it's a book about a tribe of hidden Native Americans, and they live in a cave system in Florida. And I know people before everybody's like, "Oh, okay, Florida doesn't have no caves." Yes, they do. Just
If you
not
take
at the.
one foot in Florida, you hit water.
Well, I mean, there's that too. But the caves are like in the North Florida, the northern part, so closer to like
Mm.
Alabama, Georgia area. Yeah, but they do have a cave system called oh crap, I forgot the name of it. Anyway, they got a cave up in North Florida. I think it's up in Tallahassee area. I think.
And you're
And
writing this book to what? Give me the basic plot line here.
basically, there's this girl who's married to this not married, she's engaged to this politician, and he's physically abusive. One day he goes too far, beats her up really bad. He thinks he kills her. He has his goon come and dump her body somewhere. So the goon dumps her body up in North Florida, and it happens to be at the front of this cave entrance. And one of the sentinels see it, and they actually rescue her, and they take her in. So that's
Oh,
pretty
so
much
it's a
how.
story about her becoming one with this tribe. Is that the idea?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
No, I like
Bill,
it.
you like it?
Well, I mean, I like that. I like a similar version and Dances with Wolves kind of thing.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Well, This one's a little bit different because I put the tribe is a mixture of their Black Indians and then there's what everybody knows as Native Americans. So they're combined. They're together. They don't see a difference between each other. They're one. So that's the difference with them. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, it's an interesting story. I kind of I finished it, but now I'm going back over it to make sure this is what I want. I got like half of it edited. I'm trying to raise the money to edit the other half. But while I'm doing that, you start nitpicking. You start going back and you're like, I don't know about this scene. So
here's what's really cool. So before the workers' movement, right. So if you think about the labor movement of the 1930s, 1940s, pre and post World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Before that happened, that kind of solidarity happened in the workforces. There was big solidarity between Native Americans of the 19th century and freed or running slaves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a real solidarity between those groups. Like, Native Americans did not find them to be enemies. Matter of fact, there were some historical accounts of freed slaves and natives actually helping each other with mutual aid and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually very inspiring. I'd look into that
Yeah.
if I were you when you're writing
I
it.
did. Yeah, I did. That's where I got a lot of that from, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot, and I've heard all different types of stories and scenarios, and then I go back on what I was told, the oral history that I learned, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Like there was a point when there was no animosity between them. There was no drama. They worked together, and it's sad. It's sad how it all fell apart. But yeah, there was a part there where some of them, a lot of them, that was family. So, and that's what I take it back to in that book, in that story. So I kind of I try to blend together the different stories that I heard, and I try to look at it as all angles. Like maybe what if it's not, some people say, oh, well, it happened this way or it happened this way. It can't happen. Well, what if they're both true? There's stories of, one of the stories I heard is that the Native Americans came out of Asia and into America. But the story that I heard is that they were, I don't know if you've seen, I don't know how to explain it. I guess like a Black Chinese. That's the only way that I could explain it. And they look Chinese, just that they're dark skinned. They're dark skinned and they have all the Asian features, but their complexion is dark skinned. And they were in China and they left and they migrated down. And then their other family that was there in China came and followed them. And they were the lighter complected. And that's how they blend together. So those were like the first people to come into America, that they were actually coming out of Asia, migrating down through Greenland and so on and so forth. So what I found interesting with that, from what I know, because I used to live on the reservation for a few years, and with my ex-husband, he would show me pictures of his family, and they were very dark skinned. They're very, very dark skinned. Deep copper, if you want to put it that way, and jet black hair. It did fit in with that story. And he used to always tell me, he goes, no, we migrated in from Asia. That's something he used to confirm with me. And he says they migrated their way down into, all of America, basically, and then into South America, whatever. So it was always interesting what he told me. He was a Native American historian. So I didn't see it kind of, like when I researched, it kind of backed up what he was telling me, what he was always telling me. So yeah, I like it. I like diving into history and finding those stories that everybody's like, I don't know if that's true or not. But then when you have oral history backing it up, and this was passed down for generations, and then he showed me pictures of his family. I could see it.
All good literature is based on historical understanding. All of it.
That's true.
Even the science fiction. People don't realize that about science fiction, but science fiction has because science fiction oftentimes comments on ideology and philosophy that is very, very forward thinking. They have to have a deep understanding of history to know where that's going. And
That's true.
if you like watch Star Trek or anything like that, they always talk about history. There's always these in the Star Trek: The Next Generation. They are always bringing up historical figures for one reason or another, and that's why, because it's
Yeah,
the past informs our future.
that's true. That's true.
My work's no different. I so Rusted Roads is my seventh poetry collection, and
Mm-hmm.
all of my work is founded on historical understanding of my region. So I'm the Pittsburgh poet, right? So
Yeah.
I have readers outside of the area, but most of my writing is dealing with and currently deals with working life in what used to be considered the Steel City, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before there was like a union labor movement, there was the steel mill revolt and became the Homestead Labor Wars of the 19th century. And this is before the union movement. This is before the auto workers in Detroit. This is before all that. So that kind of struggle, that kind of struggling together as community is where I'm informed on my poetry, right? So, and then and my readers seem to understand this, but like I talk in deep levels about the idea of love and the idea of community, and that's all based on struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't have people in the modern era. They don't seem to really understand what love and what beauty is really about. It's not about like I don't know, some type of like pop culture standard. What that's really informed by is struggle. Someone is beautiful because of how they struggle, not just because they look good on a magazine cover or because they look good on TV. Like those things are nice and those kind of superficialities work. But if you don't know anything about that person, you can't identify with them. As soon as you get to know how they struggled in life, whether it's a medical struggle, whether it's a labor struggle, whether it's a struggle with family of some kind, then you can begin to identify with who that person is, and you find a deeper level of beauty with them. And that's what my work tries to do, right? But not just on an individual level, but on a community level.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm making any sense right now.
Yeah, you're making a lot of sense.
This is whiskey in here, so I might be a little bit happy.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So with your poetry, so you also write from your experience, your life experience.
So I actually just penned a poem. See, I have a Patreon account, and I'm going to advertise real quick to anybody who's interested. Patreon.com/PGH Poet. So PGH being the abbreviation for Pittsburgh Poet. PGH Poet. Sorry about that. Had to plug it.
It's okay.
But I just wrote a poem on there for my readers. Now, with the poetry I published there, I actually give explanations to what each poem means. That's something I don't do in my printed work, in my published work. Because that's just like a special something that people get for subscribing and giving me money.
Right.
But I actually just talked about that topic exactly. So
yeah.
But yeah.
Well, so with the Patreon page, so you have to do new material each month, or
Patreon. Yeah, I publish a couple of poems a week with those explanations, and then once a month. And once a month, I also hand write out a poem on like nice stationery, right? And I mail it to people.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Wow. I actually did that last night for a handful of my readers who do that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fun. It's nice to get something in the mail other than bills, isn't it? Like
Yeah. I'd rather get a poem than a bill. Yeah.
There's something else. This isn't related to our topic, but check this out. So, I used to. Okay, so this is back at the. I'm older than you. This is back at the dawn of the internet.
Okay.
I would take people out of my email contact list once a month, just randomly select somebody. And I would write basically what was a journal entry, like a diary entry, but I would write it as an email to that person.
Oh, wow.
And I would tell them at the beginning of the email, You can read this if you want to. You don't have to. This is basically a journal entry of mine, and I chose you this month to be the person to receive it. And then I would just go on for a couple pages of whatever I was thinking or whatever I wanted to, whenever I wanted to document. And I found that people kind of dug it, you know. And then I switched from that because I started feeling nostalgic for like years later. I started feeling nostalgic for like pen and paper and for like actually getting mail, just like we talked about. And I started handwriting letters to people randomly, just with my random thoughts, just for why not? And then I decided to formalize that into like, I mean, I don't want to use the word business because Patreon's not really business. It's just a mechanism to publish work. But I formalized it now. Every single month I write poetry on stationery and I mail it to people.
Wow.
It's fun.
Would you handwrite each letter?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it takes all night.
I bet.
I listen to music, you listen to music, you put on whatever on YouTube, like some like Foo Fighters or whatever you like to listen to, jazz.
Yeah.
Floyd, that kind of stuff. Whatever you want to listen to, you just put it on streaming for a few hours and just go to work. It's great.
But see, I know you're not going to see this as a marketing strategy or tactic. It's just you're following your heart. You're doing what you love to do. I don't think you see, and I don't know. I know we're both born in April, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can definitely relate to that. I just don't have the patience. But see,
say that again. You don't have the patience for what?
I don't have the patience to sit there and write everybody a handwritten poem.
Oh.
Yeah. No, that's your expertise. And that's what I'm saying. Like that's like your fingerprint. That's what makes you.
I'll tell you what, if you do that, your handwriting gets a lot better.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All that practice. Yeah.
You become a better writer too.
Yeah.
If you read all the time, I mean, I'm sure your listeners know this, but if you read all the time and if you write all the time, you become a better writer. It's just the truth of it. It's just like anything else. Yeah, I learned this. I learned this driving a cab, driving taxi. Right. I am now like this excellent driver. Nobody else sucks. The truth of the matter is, if you do something 8 or 9 hours a day, every day for a couple of years, you're going to get good at it. I don't care what it's crocheting, it'd be driving, like I just said, it could be mountain climbing, it could be football, whatever. It doesn't matter. You do something a couple hours or a few hours a day, every day, you're going to get good at it. Same with writing.
This is true. I have to say, like, doing Uber did make me a much better driver. I can just tell that's what anybody says about my driving now. I drive how I want because I don't care. As long as I'm not hitting nobody, whatever. I'm not my truck, but my boyfriend's truck. I back it in crooked all the time. There's nobody other car there. I'm going to back it in how I want to back it in. I always tell him, as long as I didn't hit that.
He must love you very much for letting you crooked like that.
Huh?
He must love you very much for backing in crooked,
Oh no, it's his pet peeve. I did it drive him crazy.
That's funny.
You gotta keep driving. You gotta keep them on their toes. So it's my fun thing.
How about this? You see how this bandana on around my neck? You know why I wear this? People sometimes ask me, like, why is there a bandana around? This is my pandemic mask, and I can't get rid of it. Every day I put this on.
I still wear my mask though. I do. I still wear my mask. And I still I got that Omicron or whatever. And I had a mask on. So but I still wear my mask. I still feel like it does something. Maybe not like, but then I feel like my mom put it perfectly. She said since people started putting on masks at her job, she stopped getting spit on all the time. And she goes, I like the mask.
What job does she have? She's getting spit on. Is she a poet too?
No. No. She did customer service. So when people come in to talk to her and they're getting upset or whatever, they would spit. Spit would fly out of their mouth. She said there's time when spit flew in her eyes. spit on
You mean
it
spit
fell on her
all like
mouth.
the
Yeah.
saliva that flies? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a very different thing than what you said earlier. You know, you said she was getting spit on all the time, like someone's
Well, she
angry.
was.
Huh?
I mean, they weren't doing it on purpose. They weren't doing it on purpose.
Right. That's a
But
very different.
still
Spittle
disgusting.
is great. The spittle's disgusting enough. But getting spit on through anger and violence, that's a whole different level.
Yeah, that's no.
Well, I
no.
hope you're
It's
editing
just,
this
and
for
as
your
you
viewers.
said,
We're just going on different topics. We don't even. This isn't
I don't do
structured
that.
at all. We're
I
just
do that on all my shows. That's pretty much how it goes for all my shows. So I try to stick to a topic, but it doesn't happen. So
very good.
it's like my books. I don't know if you
You
ever.
wanted to talk to me
See, I
about
don't know.
marketing. Right? You have marketing questions?
Marketing questions.
Yeah, you said you wanted to talk about marketing.
Yeah. So, see, I would say like, how do you market your poetry? But you kind of did explain that. You're to me, how I understand it, you're not specifically setting out a strategy, unless you are.
Okay.
That's just genius.
Can I just say some do's and don'ts? I'll do that. How
Yes,
about that?
do that.
Okay. So first thing is first. During the wild days of the social media, when Facebook was new, when Twitter was new, when all of it was new, there were no restrictions. Very little restrictions. Yeah, you hear of debates today like, oh, who should get banned, who shouldn't get banned, what should be happening on that, right? Okay, there's all kinds of these like free speech debates about social media today. If you pay attention to any like alternative media, they're all talking about it. Okay, back like 15 years ago when this stuff was new, there were no restrictions. You could say whatever you wanted. It didn't matter. Yeah. And you could very easily employ like bots. You could like buy these like really cheap bots that programmers would come up with like in their basements to just blanket the airwave or the social media waves with advertising. Okay. And it became very annoying to people, but it worked sometimes, you know. And I did that for a while. And that's how I got like a base of readers. Okay. You can't do that anymore. Now the whole model is driven towards paid advertising on Facebook and paid advertising on Twitter. Do not do this. This is my first do not. So do not do that because you have to understand those mechanisms are set up for Facebook and Twitter to make more money than you could ever pray to make with your books. Okay. People do not buy books based on advertising on the internet. They just don't. Think of it yourself. Do you ever buy books from advertising? Like, no. You buy books because you go to a bookstore or because you know the author or because you're at a flea market and you see something. Like, you know, you buy a book because of a tangible relationship with the book, not because you saw an ad for it. Now, that's not to say you can't buy a book from an ad. If the ad is really, really dynamic and really hooks you, you can identify with it in the first 10 seconds of the ad, right? Okay. But like that requires a lot of production value. And none of us are Tom Clancy, you know, right? None of us are getting invited onto like Conan O'Brien or any of those talk shows to like talk about our books that can then be used as a mechanism to back up the advertising, like social media advertising. So like that, we don't do that. So like just buying an ad on Facebook doesn't do anything. I've tried it. It doesn't work. I've spent hundreds of dollars on it. Please, I'm telling people, don't do that. The best way to market your book, this is going to sound stupid. The best way I found to market my book is to simply meet as many people as you can, get their email address, email them individually, one at a time, over the course of years. And then hopefully word of mouth starts to go. Yeah. And then as I tell my readers, this is the nihilistic part of my brain coming out. You know, they're going to read me when I'm dead. You know, I'm not going to make a lot of money at this while I'm alive, right? So like, as is true with all art, the masses start to care about you when you're dead. So
that sucks.
Right? Like if you go on Facebook and some celebrity dies, right? No one gave a damn about this old age celebrity, right? But all of a sudden he dies or she dies, and it's like, oh my God, I love them. And they start like buying collections of their DVDs. They buy their whole collections of all their books and all their music, and that's how humanity works. It's just
It's sad. Yeah. Yeah, I know
what
what
you
you're
have to
saying.
do,
Yeah, it's
though. You
sad.
have to make as many touches as you can. So you have to meet and greet as many potential readers as you can. So do bookstore events. Barnes and Noble will host anybody. If you go to a Barnes and Noble, your local Barnes and Noble, they will host you. You don't
Really?
use it as a selling opportunity. Use it as a meet and greet opportunity to meet as many people as you can. Try to get email addresses. Take those email addresses,
Mm-hmm.
put them into an email system like MailChimp or something. The first 2,000 are free. You don't have to pay for the service at the first 2,000. Then you can just use that to start
Yeah.
emailing out snippets of work, to say hello, just put out crap about your personal life. Like, hey, I going bicycling today. Like
Yeah.
people people might like that,
So,
Uh,
so with the emailing, you're saying should we be emailing every day
Oh
or
no, you don't annoy people.
that's too
Just think
much?
about, like, it depends on the person, but like just think about it from your own perspective. Like, how often do you want to receive emails from people? You know,
Yeah.
and do you have anything really important to say? And if you
Yes.
don't have anything important to say and it's been a while, then yeah, put out something friendly and fun, but like don't hit them over the head.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Once a week, once a month, once every 3 months. It depends on the person.
Yeah. I like that. I do like that. So you're saying all these doing all and I agree because I've done the Facebook ads things and I I'll either get some really weird comments from some really strange people. It's just it doesn't have the outcome that I was hoping for, basically. And no
There
sales. Zero sales.
there are there are Facebook ads you can buy that will help you direct people to inputting an email address into your system.
Hmm.
Those I have not tried. That might be
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
But because again, what you want to do is you want to just collect as many email addresses as you can. But the thing is, like, I have a problem with that too. Like, that's what all these marketers will say, like, oh, you want as many email addresses, you want millions if you can get them. But the thing is, like, as an author, as a small time person, you know, if you collect just random email addresses, most of those people aren't going to care about you. You have to, I say, have the personal relationship. If you've met somebody, if you actually shook their hand, if you actually gave them a hug, if you actually had a conversation with them, get their email address. That one email address is more valuable than 50 that come from just randos on Facebook.
Right. Okay. I like that. I can relate to that. So it's more like you're making a personal connection,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah, like
It's
what you do,
more
go to the
along
bar and like make friends at the bar and get those people, or go, like, if you're have kids and you go to, like, play dates and like do that. Boy Scouts,
yeah.
Girl Scouts, like that, those are your people.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard with this whole pandemic. I know now everybody's kind of more out and about. I live in a small town, so there's not a whole lot to do here. I live in a small town in Alabama, and I like it because I'm in a pocket. I say I'm in a pocket, meaning I hear all the horror stories about Alabama for my people, but I don't experience that here only because it's more like a military community.
Okay.
And I find
That's
that
different.
military people are, I guess it depends. I mean, there's different people, but so far in my area, they've been they're really nice here. I don't have like, let me tell you how safe I feel in my neighborhood. I had accidentally left the garage door open all night. Went to bed, okay? Woke up, didn't realize it. I think I did this twice. Um, Nothing ever happened. Nobody ever came in here. Nothing, no drama happened, thank God. But I mean, like, cause you leave the garage open, you can just walk right into the house. Just the door is not locked, so you can just walk right into the garage. But thank God that didn't happen. I mean, I don't do it now. I make sure I put the alarm on, but I was just like, if I was living anywhere else, it would have been an incident. There would
I'd
have
be
been.
more afraid of the raccoons coming in or the skunks or whatever, than I would
I don't.
people.
No, no. Everybody in my neighborhood got guns. Nobody's nobody's stupid here.
No, no,
Nobody's
then
stupid.
I'd be more worried about an animal getting in your house.
Well, you know what? There was a raccoon that did get in and chill.
See? That's what I'm talking about.
And the only way I knew is because I saw the little paw prints on the hood of the car. But they were gone by morning. That was it. He had a nice little spot for that night. I was doing a community of service.
I went to Hotel April. Hotel
Hotel
April.
April, yeah. Come on in, all the stray cats. Y'all just chill. Yeah, but I'm very happy. Like I feel safe in this neighborhood. I don't ever feel like I'm in danger or I'm not being treated fairly or anything. And I know I'm light and bright, but I don't get that. And the community is very mixed, so it's nice. I like it. Um, would I venture off into other parts of Alabama? No. There are. That's why I say we're in a pocket. And then where we live, we're right close to Georgia too, so we just hop over to
I've
Georgia.
heard good things about Birmingham.
Really? You heard good things
I've
about
heard,
Birmingham?
I've heard it's very, very diverse, very, very progressive
Yeah.
minded, very kind. That's what I've heard that. I've never been.
I've never been. I haven't been to Birmingham. Um, I know, like there's certain, like everywhere has their good parts and their bad parts. Everywhere, even here we have some parts that are you're not there at night. You lock your doors and and then there's other parts which not even far away that you're fine. You could be crazy like me and leave your garage door wide open for all the raccoons to come in and sleep. So, but it's hard. What were we talking about? See, I get off track. It's
Yeah,
hard
I
to
hope you're
say.
editing this. Yeah, we're
I
just
did.
this is random. No one's gonna pay attention for 37 minutes. When we had
No,
almost 38, people are gonna be like, "I'm done with this. What are you talking
right?
about?" No, this bald fat guy talking about nothing, and this girl just going on and on about raccoons and garage doors.
Well, yes. Okay, back on marketing. For me, for a person like me, where I live in a small town, there's really not a whole lot of events. And even if they were, I feel like nobody would be really interested in my books. What are my options online?
I hate to say it, but I really feel like our online options are diminished. I mean,
Yeah.
unless again you can make this personal connections through social media. Advertising is pretty much out, and spamming like Twitter. Like back in the day, you could send out 30, 40 tweets a day
Hmm.
from people just like as a bot or whatever. You could just do that, and I'm not saying it's a good thing, but people did it, and you could get away with it. Nowadays, you try to do things like that, they'll ban your account.
Yeah.
So they want people to spend their time commenting on pop culture, which is boring to me, and they want people to spend money on advertising. That's it. And you can reach out individually, though. You can make individual contacts through social media. You can join groups, Facebook groups that, you know, have the people in the same demographic who you believe are your readers, your potential readers.
Yeah.
So, like, if you write books about whiskey, go to whiskey group. If you
Yeah.
write it, and I hate to sound like I'm stereotyping here, but if you write romance, we'll say go to childcare
Right.
groups, go where the women are. You know what I mean? That's just
Oh, that's
that's just
good.
the
Yeah,
truth of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like, poetry though is
Yeah.
tough. Like I don't have one demographic of reader. Like I write for men, but most of my readers are women. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and when I say I
They say
write for
that's how it happens.
men, what's that?
They say that's how your target audience normally it's the audience that you target, it normally, I don't know, ricochets and it's some other audience, some other demographic that appreciates your work and not the audience that you targeted. I've, yeah,
See, I have a
I've
very different view
experienced
of
that.
this than you do. Like, I used to be director of communications for an international scientific institute. Okay, I'm not going to say the name here, but I was that.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so it was my job to do all the technical writing, all the marketing communications for an international body of scientists. Okay. In 2016, I got to go to Seoul, Korea. I got to meet with people. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it was a prestigious role, and I was glad to be able to have that opportunity. But I quit that job because I couldn't take it. I hated the politics of it.
Really?
But, but
Oh,
because I went to college for this stuff, I went to college for marketing communications. I spent a career doing either marketing communications or technical writing, as well as poetry and nonfiction writing. I've done all that, and I'm here to tell you that the best way to market your stuff is individually. And that's what I
yeah.
exactly what I did for organizations. I would reach out to people who fit those demographics. I would hit them up and get readers slowly that way. But word of mouth spreads. If you get your soldiers built,
That's
your army built, so you have a yeah. So okay, I also wrote one time, and this is I wasn't going to bring this up, but is this book is no longer in print. I wrote a book one time titled "Financial Success for Creative Professionals." Okay, sounds pretty hokey,
mm,
but that's what it was, and it was a marketing book, and it did pretty well. But it's out of print because it was based on pop culture marketing standards of the time at the early days of social
mm,
media. Okay, and in that book, I detail how to build your audience because it was from my own experiences, but also the experiences of publishing companies, um, marketing companies that have clients in different industries, and the the one commonality they all shared is that you have to have an army of people. And they don't use that term, but you have to have your army. I call it. Your
right.
army is like a
Mhm.
hundred people that give a damn about your stuff. And I don't mean just give a damn. I
Mhm.
mean they have to love it. They have to love you and love your stuff. Those 100 people
Right.
who love you become your marketing tools. They tell everybody else, and you have to inform them.
Mm,
And they inform everybody else. So if you get one soldier, they can tell up to 10 people.
mhm.
So
Okay, I see what
you
you're
have
saying.
that 100. That hundred's on you. To get that 100, you
Mhm.
might have 100,000 contacts over the course of 20
Mm,
years. That's
yeah.
just how it works. It's just unfortunate.
Wow.
I wish social media was more open than like it used to be for that reason, but it's so
Yeah.
locked down anymore. Either they want you to spend money or they just want you to comment on pop culture to help build to help build the brands of companies and people that do advertise. That's what they want you to
Yeah.
do. So when you go and you comment on Twitter about some Kardashian person or whatever. I'm so out of it anymore. But if you go
Yeah.
and you comment on some news story about like a Kardashian, we'll say, right?
Mhm.
You're usually commenting on a promoted post because those are the ones that get the most traction.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you're helping Twitter make money on them selling advertising.
Right. Right. Wow. Wow. Yeah, I get it. So your advice is get personal and it
Yeah,
takes time.
you
Yeah.
write you write books about the Black and Native American experience in the United States in the modern era. That's vital, paramount work for people who look like you. That is just
Yeah.
paramount. And quite
Yeah.
frankly, it's paramount for people who look like me so we can like get educated. But um to get those readers, you have to make those personal connections. You just have to.
Yeah. I get it. I like that. That's something to me that is comfortable because I don't mind, getting to know people, meeting people. That's fine with me. It's not much of my talent.
Most writers are
I
introverts.
like
They
my
don't
city.
Most writers are pure introverts. They don't like the idea of like selling themselves or shaking hands. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying make this into a networking event every day you go out of the house. I'm just saying
Mhm.
that your normal everyday behaviors,
Right.
get their email address, let them know that you have a book, you know, ask them what they like
Mhm.
to read if they do like to read. Most of my readers aren't readers. Most of my
Oh yeah.
readers are like working class scrubs who don't read at all. They're like illiterates. They're
Oh
not
wow.
illiterates. I mean, anyway, sorry, readers, if any of my readers, I don't mean it.
You didn't mean it. You didn't mean
I'm not trying to gossip about you or hurt your feelings. I'm just saying that most of my readers
it.
that I've contacted and who support most of my published work, I have okay, so just the truth be told, okay, I don't have a big giant audience. Okay, I have a few hundred people who read my stuff in this region, and a few that sprinkle around the country, and actually a couple that are out of country, but mostly they're local, and there are only a few hundred of them, and most of the people that I've talked to who are my readers, who've actually had conversations with, they've told me, I don't really read. I just read you. And because I read you, now I've tried out a couple other things. But they don't call themselves like big readers. They don't identify. People in the modern era like identify as reader. Oh, I read books. I'm a reader. Oh, look at me. I'm a big reader. Like that, it's like a brand identity. And the people who read are typically people who don't read that much. They are people who are outdoors people, or they're workers, or they are they like music. They feel like they need to like explore deeper than the superficial parts of their existences. And that's what I write about, because I write about the pursuit of truth and personal truth. And that they identify that they want something a little bit more substantial in their lives than just music and just Netflix. And I think that's why they come to me. And I love them all. I'm very grateful for every single one of them. I just am. But so you have to just know who your people are. If your people are readers, the readers, then go after them. Like that's part of your demographic, but mine aren't. I don't know why that is. Like I'm not opposed to people who are readers reading me. I want them to read me. But here's a quick story about that. I'm sorry, am I talking too much?
No, this is great. I'm learning. You're
not
talking too much.
So in my taxi, right? This is like I stopped doing the taxi work about 3 months ago because I took on a new writing project, a new professional writing project for the company. But so a few months ago, before that, I'd say this was probably back in the fall of last year, I picked up a professor. Pittsburgh has 6 major universities all within a 2-mile.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We're a big college city. Anyway, I picked up this professor and I was taking him to school for a class in the evening. And he's in the car and he asked me if I am who I am. And I said, yes, I'm Ron. And I asked him, do you support independent art? And he said, well, if it makes the grade. And that to me is the most common hurdle that I face as a poet, because more people are willing to give their money over to Netflix and Hulu and Barnes and Noble than they are to give that money over to local artists. And the reason for that is because they inherently believe that if big capital is behind an artist, that art is somehow better.
Yeah.
If you're published by a large publishing house out of New York City, you somehow have more credibility with people than a struggling poet or a struggling writer out of Alabama has. And that's unfortunate, because a lot of times the strugglers are better because they have more to say about what they're going through and about the subject matter than the published people do. The big capital publishes and produces the films of people who fit the biggest audience. So like, you know how people commonly criticize a movie for being like too like milquetoast, too soft on this subject, or just didn't really delve into it as deeply as I was hoping they would delve into it. Well, that's why, because they have pie charts that they use to make sure that whatever's being published or produced is not too deep. because they want
Yeah.
to make money.
Keep it shallow. Yeah.
So, but the individual artists who don't give a damn about that, who just go deep because that's who they are and they want to share the stories of their struggle. Those are oftentimes better.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
true.
switched in my art consumer habits have almost completely switched. I probably, it used to be 90%, 10% in favor of, capital backed artists. Now it's the opposite.
Wow.
I still have a Netflix subscription and all that, but I don't ever buy books from Barnes and Noble anymore. I go
Yeah,
to direct.
I go there as kind of like for nostalgic reasons. It's sad. And the thing is, I think like for me, I think most of my audience might be like me, where we love a good story, but we don't necessarily want to read it. We probably enjoy it watching it or listening to it. And that's why I started the whole audio stuff, because I say, well, if they're anything like me, then they're probably. I've had so many people tell me, I want to read your books, but I hate reading. And I get it. I get it. And then what makes it worse is social media with these short little videos is actually creating people who don't want to read. Not that they can't, they don't want to read. They rather just watch a quick little video. So that's like a whole nother topic.
That really seems to be infecting nonfiction authors
Hmm.
more so. People who tend to write like self help books and cooking books, things like that. There's more of that on YouTube in 30 seconds, you know.
That's true. This is true.
Fiction,
This is
fiction,
true.
and fiction and creative nonfiction, we'll call it. Um, I still think could have a big audience. You just have to find your people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it- no
I'm
one's making
trying.
any
I'm
YouTube
slowly.
videos that are fictional that are like well done. That's just not happening.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
There was in the early days of YouTube, there was a girl. I can't remember the name of this channel that this was. There was this girl who would talk into her camera and just tell stories
Hmm.
about her life.
Hmm.
And she got a big following because again, this is early days when there wasn't a lot of YouTube channels.
Yeah.
And she would just talk about her life, and she ended up getting like millions of subscribers from that. And this is also whenever this is YouTube was using Google Ads as a payment,
Mm.
and
Hmm.
and she was making some money through ads. Um, but it turned out this is all fiction. See, people thought they were tuning into her real life, and it was all these like
Oh,
happy stories and then sad stories, and it got more and more horrifying as it went, and
yeah.
more sad and more just and people were like hooked on.
Wow.
Oh my God, this poor girl.
Yeah.
it was all made up. But she hooked people. She hooked that. But today, that's the only fiction I can think of that ever did well on YouTube. Like fiction on YouTube, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't expect to be a millionaire off of YouTube.
No, I'm
But
only addressing the fact that you said it's people are like not becoming readers because they're finding that on the internet. They're finding clips.
there, I think it's a whole instant gratification thing that we're battling, and it's hard because in storytelling, there's a buildup. It starts out well. Most of my books kind of start out with a bang. Most of them, not all of them, and then it continues building up from there. So I've mastered that part of hooking the reader, keeping them engaged. But it's getting them to just get the book to see that. That's my challenge. Once people read my books, they love it. Like they're surprised, and I'm like, yeah, it's it. I had fun writing it, and I believe when you have fun writing your books, it comes across to the reader. They get that energy. So I know if I start getting bored in a book or I start like I to me that's how the reader's going to feel also. So I know that I need to backtrack and pick it up, figure out where I went wrong and get it right. So yeah, that's I don't know. I love writing. I love writing. I do a very little poetry. I think my poetry is very short and mediocre.
Okay, so you're younger than me. I'm going to tell you a little quick. No one knows about this about me. A few people, do, not many. Definitely not on the podcast audience level. Um, I wrote my first poem when I was 20 years old.
Wow.
And it was pure whiny trash. Okay. and it made me embarrassed to read it.
Wow.
And I tried a few more and they were also garbage. And I kind of said to myself, you can't write this. Poetry is about sharing wisdom. At least that's how I see poetry. Not everybody sees it that way. That's how I see my poetry. And I said to myself, you have to live some life. Don't do this right now. This is not for you. This is not. No one's going to want to read it. It was all this whiny garbage about parents and women and whatever. Anyway, so I went out and I lived life. I did. I went out and for the next 20 years, I worked shit jobs. I went to school a lot, got educated. I wrote everything else. I worked as a journalist. I wrote fiction. I wrote nonfiction. I did technical writing. I did marketing communications. I worked at a car wash. I worked at a used car lot. I worked as a bartender. I worked jobs. I slept with a lot of women, and I we shouldn't be saying that out loud. And let's put it this: I loved a lot of women. Let's just say it that way because it's true, And I struggled a lot. I raised a child. And then I came back to it at 40. And I sat down and started writing, and then I started liking what I saw, right? And then it kind of caught on fire in my mind, in my soul.
Yeah.
And I wrote something like 100 poems in a few weeks.
Wow.
And then I wrote another 100 poems in a few weeks after that. And then not all of this was good, but I was writing though. I was writing a lot of poetry, and poetry kind of became who I was, who I'd grown into. I'd grown into the poet. I didn't try to force it. I didn't, even though I identified as that as a young age, I knew that I wasn't ready. Yeah. And then I allowed myself to become that after the age of 40 or at the age of 40. Yeah. And then I started coming out with books. Right. I started collecting the better works and putting them in the collections. A group of us formed a little publishing group called Grid City Publications with editors and other authors and illustrators and other people. And we started working on that. And that comes from in my independent. Okay, hold on. So let me just finish this. So and then my first collection came out titled Hot Metal Tonic, and that kind of took off. And that went number one on Amazon for a little while. Wow. For a day and a half, it was number one.
That's so great.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was good to see that. I went on Amazon and looked, and it was number one. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. It didn't stay there, but so what? It got there, right? That's an accomplishment.
Yeah.
So, and then a few years later, after a few more collections came out, the Pittsburgh City Paper, it's a alternative free press. They named me one of the best poets in Pittsburgh, right?
Wow.
And I was up against people who were academics, because again, we're a big university city. We have a lot of literature.
Right.
Pittsburgh is also home to a few great authors. Don't ask me I'm drinking right now, so don't ask me anything. Michael Chabon is one of them. He wrote Wonder Boys. There was a big movie about that back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. Wow.
That novel's about Pittsburgh, and the movies are a lot of fun too. Michael Chabon writes, he kind of overrates everything, but he's a very beautiful writer. So, but anyway, Pittsburgh is home to has some good literature to it. But I was named one of the best, and it made me really proud. And and now I'm just that's just who I am, and I plan to be the Pittsburgh poet now that I've allowed myself to become that for the past 10 years. I will be that until I die. And that's how I hope to be remembered. because I have other
Yeah.
work out there in ether. Like I've written fiction, I've written nonfiction, but I don't want anybody to read that garbage. And stuff was like when I was younger, it's not great. But the poetry is who I am. It's where I excel. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I hope
Well,
I'm
it
not
was
man horn here. I'm not trying to come off that way.
no, no. It was great. It was great. I'm glad we had this talk. Finally, I've been going through all my technical drama, so I'm glad it came out great tonight.
Would you like to hear a poem? While I'm here, I have one pulled up. I don't know if your readers are into that stuff. I don't know. You know.
Yeah. Let's read a poem.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so this is from my most recent collection, Rusted Roads and Day Old Roses.
Okay.
Okay, and it's titled "Labor and Love." There is no
Okay.
labor. There is no labor without love. And man works. He spits and he bleeds for love. A woman does battle with dangerous hearts every single day for love. Layered under the scarred tissue of struggle lies the rich soil of beauty. In that
Okay.
place, and only that place, love grows.
I
So,
like that.
short and sweet.
I mean, my internet was trying to be bad, but yeah, I like
Your
it.
internet was bad?
I like that. It was trying to
What,
be bad, yes.
what did
In
you say
the
was
middle of
what
you doing
bad?
it. No, it was like really in the middle. So it was in the middle.
What did you say? What did you
It
what
glitched out. Do you want to say it
oh
again?
well, I mean, only if you're gonna
Give me.
edit it. I don't want to say it twice to people.
Well, yeah, no, I'm gonna edit it. I'll cut that other
Oh,
part
okay.
out.
All right.
So okay.
This poem is titled Labor and Love. There is no labor without love. A man works, he spits, and he bleeds for love. A woman does battle with dangerous hearts every single day for love. Layered under the scarred tissue of struggle lies the rich soil of beauty. In that place, and only that place, love grows.
That's beautiful. That's perfect.
Thank you.
I love that. That's deep. It's true. It's true. Well, I'm
Did
glad.
we capture all the marketing content? I know you wanted to concentrate on more marketing. I don't know if we did that or not.
Oh no, we're good. We got no. You did great on the marketing. You gave some really great marketing advice. I don't know if you realized it, but you did, because what you're saying is true. It is. I remember years ago there was an author who wrote horror stories, and he was on Twitter, and he was always on Twitter, and all his tweets, how I discovered him, all his tweets were hilarious. They were so funny. And I was shocked to find out that he writes horror. Because I thought that he would only be tweeting about like horror stuff, He never tweeted about his book. He occasionally maybe made a tweet or two about his books, but it was more the people responding to his hilarious tweets that would say, "Hey, I bought your book. I don't read, or I don't like horror, but I bought your book because I like you." And that's what you reminded me of. Like, and I don't know what happened to him. I don't hear about him anymore, but his tweets were just, and then I followed him on Twitter, and then I started following him on Facebook also, because he started doing stuff on Facebook too. He was so funny. Like, everything he said was hilarious. And I was just like, he writes horror? Like, it doesn't even match. But people bought his book just because they liked him. And I don't
To
know if they
me,
ever read it or not. Yeah. Huh?
I would have to think that most horror novelists are probably hilarious because like they deal with this like really dark, crazy shit that they have to be
Dark
like
humor. That's
psychos,
true.
like funny
Yeah.
psychos in their personal
Yeah.
lives.
That's true. Yeah. Well, it was good talking to you. I enjoyed our interview. This is you are my first interview. Is it interviewee? I don't know how it goes. Anyway.
Interview. That's correct.
Yeah.
I'm your first one?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, so this audience will be 4 people. Okay, that's fine,
Yeah, it's going to be viewed by 4 people worldwide. Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what. You send me the file too, because I'll also post it to my channel for my readers.
Okay. Okay, I will. I will.
Then we'll get you double.
Okay, yeah, we'll have 8. That'll be awesome.
We'll have 8. Yeah, we'll have 8.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, April. I appreciate it.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Thank you for watching. We hope that you enjoyed our show and gained deeper insight with your book business. If you found value in this, please like, share, and subscribe. When you subscribe, please leave us a comment below so that we can gift you a free copy of the latest edition of the Author Challenge magazine.